senesi magire mtuzeha sana nena finira chechemekwe yango senesi magire mtuzeha sana nena finira chechemekwe yango senesi magire mtuzeha sana nena finira chechemekwe.
Bagari.
Music, nature, joy, and laughter. The sounds of Kenya. A pleasant good evening to you, and thank you for joining us this evening. You are watching IKEMBA Youth for Reparations. My name is Crystal Nikita Candace Crawford, and we have an interesting program for you this evening. The first half, we will be focusing on reparations. So the upcoming events that you will see, or the items that we have for you. The first one is Trevor answering one of the audiences asked him a question on reparations, and he responded, followed by a poem called Come and Bring On the Reparations.
You guys have any questions before we move on? Anything you want to chat about? No, we good? Yes, sir? That's an interesting question. What do you mean by that?
Well, like, there are like white people that have like been disenfranchised like recently, like
recently is the key. Recently is the key.
Well, the country like deindustrialized, right? So like a lot of people in like manufacturing jobs and stuff, like
right.
barriers were affected.
But so to your question, I think you have to understand what the word reparations means first. So reparations, you are repairing something that you have broken. You are paying for something that you were supposed to pay for. I'm not saying that there aren't people living in America today who are suffering and are going through pain and strife because of what's happening when it comes to machines taking jobs, factories becoming industrialized, etc. But reparations is a specific conversation about a specific time in America, and that is black people were slaves. You know what I mean? I've even heard people say like, oh, but there were some of the Irish who were indentured. Like, yeah, slavery. Look at the numbers, look at the time, look at the level of work. You could not work toward your freedom. For most black people in America, this was a time when you lived and died as a slave. And so that's what reparations is about. And so I hear what you're saying, but I think that's a completely separate conversation that needs to be had about the now. Because if you are not careful, what you then do is you combine everybody's suffering into the same bowl and you make it seem like all injustices have the same weighting, and they don't. It's just like crimes. You know, theft isn't the same as murder. We don't try them the same way. And as much as there is a white person who's suffering today, I feel for anybody who's suffering because I know what it's like to be poor. I know what it's like to suffer. I didn't come from a wealthy family. We struggled when I was growing up. But I also understand that there are levels of that suffering, you know? And so sometimes white people, it does block a white person because you go, white privilege. And a person goes, I'm poor and I'm white. Where's the privilege? You know, white people are like, I wish I could activate my white privilege. I wish I could do it right now. White privilege! Give me something. I get that. I get that. Trust me, I get it. It is hard to accept that you have benefits because of the color of your skin if you cannot see the benefits that you have. But the thing I try to explain to a person is, think of it more like golf. Don't think of it as privilege, then think of it like a handicap, right? In golf, they acknowledge that you are in a position where you need so many advantages to be competitive in the game, right? So what they say is you have a handicap of 15, so that means like you're going to be hitting from this tee and you get more chances to get the ball in because we understand the position you're in. And if you're a black person in America, from slavery, from day one, the number of injustices that have held black people back in America amount to an insurmountable, like you look at black people's freedom, you look at black people's land, just land alone. The amount of wealth you can acquire over time if you own land is exponential because you have the land, you have the fact that you can borrow based on the land, you have the fact that you can use the money that you have borrowed to grow more wealth, you can use it to grow your family's wealth. Just taking that away from black people alone is crippling them. And so you combine that with slavery, and then you look at Jim Crow laws. You didn't let black people in America live in the areas that they wanted to live in. They couldn't get loans from the banks that they wanted to get loans from. And then on top of that, when they started getting the loans from American banks were found to be giving them higher interest rates when in fact they were the same risk as many of the other races that they were giving loans to. So when you combine all of those things, I think it's safe to say that black Americans have a conversation that they need to be having with the United States. Doesn't involve me, doesn't involve white people, it's like, yo, American government, meet the black people. That's it. Have that conversation.
It's a little hot up here than I expected. Thank you. I think all the other poets raised the temperature. Come on and bring on the reparations. Oh, master of the perfect word universe, technological forked tongue, riddle me this. If the Chinese can come from China and the French can come from France, what made you think you could get niggas out of Africa in the first place? Just because you put puppies in the oven, that don't make them biscuits. Reparations on GP. Come on and bring on the reparations. For all the unrequited home runs, brothers be burning up the bases, the crowd be going mad, brothers be crossing over home plate, go outside and can't get a cab. For little Richard teaching the Beatles how to scream like Aunt Jemima without their pancakes. And all the other dark and unknown rockers electrified, the republic sanctified, shaking that Cold War out the booty body politic. Come on and bring on the reparations. For the beatnik, white Negroes and such, getting off up under that great music and them little ass 5 spots. For the jazz in the jazz age, making your women wiggle and squirm, and you trying to twist and do the worm. Your abstract expressionism jism dripping. You might say, if I was you, I would go on the road and howl too. Jimmy Dean and Elvis, they can go to wherever they went. Marilyn too, except she got caught in a trick and got bent out of that cute little shape she had going. Come on and bring on the reparations. For the Birmingham Gospels, 4 little girls come Sunday. For the Jesus remix in those redneck streets, fire hose, mad dog, crucifix, and what exactly did you say you was doing at the time of our soft shoe on the rock of edges? For the privilege in your skin, a wounded knee, a trail of tears for the Indian in us. Come on and bring on the reparations. for the spook with the metal detector sitting by your door. Open just enough, probably a moon full of cocaine on the table. Monica on her knees doing secret service. You humming mum under wraps. And what about all those flags we so proudly hailed? Marvin Gaye singing, oh, say, can you see? Wearing shades like mirrors at the All-Star game so you can reflect yourself, relaxed and feeling good. The dark looker doing his looking like he was blind, bearing witness to the whiteness of whiteness, pretending you was the only one who could see. 'Tis after all about thee, just like you like it. Mercy, mercy me, and so on and so forth. For the missing royalty checks, and so on and so forth. For VD and Tuskegee called syphilis, and so on and so forth. Think of it as a down payment on the interest compounded. Them 40 acres notwithstanding, that mule notwithstanding, multiplied, quantized, digitized. What to say about forgiveness between you, and your God? Come on and bring on the reparations.
Come on and bring on the reparations. 400 years ago, my people were dragged from their homes, tribes, families, placed on floating wood, and shipped across the Atlantic to what would be later described as the most inhumane act of all time. Cold, dark, uncomfortable, cannot describe the trip in ships where whips did not fail to miss. Injustice, rape and disgrace, blood rains, brute, force, ignorance, hate in their veins, sweat and tears, labor revealed, produce from cane fields only for the esteemed. 400 years of eroding one's pride, culture, heritage, value. 400 years of the iron chain stringing up, leaving bare. Oh, but they never cared. Why fight when you would be met with sharp blades? So don't you dare cry out in fear. Why not plan an escape with the plaiting of one's hair? Oh, the drums! Listen, dance, communicate. For tonight we fight a battle not even death could spare. Blue eyes, white skin, matter said there's beauty within. But guess what? Black, brown, gold, royalty, reparations we are owed. Them say hassa, but we say cassava. That's where we get the strength from to beat and conquer. For tonight, we're returning to Ghana. You may say, I'm a descendant of slaves because of the rich melanin that gushes from my pores. But I came to tell you tonight, I am not a slave. Rather, the descendant of kings and queens. I am the embodiment of the divine. I do not chase. I align. I attract. What's meant for me already has my name on it. So go ahead, call me what you want. Because when I die, bury me in the oceans where my ancestors jumped from the ships. Because they knew death was better than bondage. Come on and bring on the reparations. So the next item we have for you is a cover of Brown Skin Girl. To all our brown skin girls out there, this one is dedicated to you.
You say you really go poor like me. Don't believe in nothing but the Almighty. Just a white tracksuit and some bright yellow kicks. He never did forever be nobody husband, yeah. You not pendeza but your heart is a miss. Play it like a smart one cause it's cutting away. Tonight I'm walking away. 9 to 5 mind on the grind, yeah, yeah. Tonight I might fall in love, depending on how you hold me. I'm glad that I'm coming down. Can't let no one come control me. Keep dancing and call it love. He's fighting but falling slowly. If ever you are in doubt, remember what mama told you. Brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. You're back against the world. I'd never trade you for anybody else. Say brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. The best thing in the world. I'd never trade you for anybody else. Hey, confidence when y'all step up on the scene. She not no time for West for nothing but no ring. In all the body biz and peace of mind, now that they so she free. Like river water, down the stream flowing to the sea. Tonight she might turn the place on fire. Fire brigade them off it dead if no retire. Yeah, but tell them so me papa made a prayer forever. Yeah, a happy time when we desire. Yeah. beautiful. Tonight I might fall in love, depending on how you hold me. I'm glad that I'm coming down. Can't let no one come control me. Keep dancing and call it love. He's fighting but falling slowly. If ever you are in doubt, remember what mama told you. Brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. You're back against the world. I never trade you for anybody else. Say brown skin girl, your skin just like pearls. The best thing in the world. I never trade you for anybody else. Like how the river now flow from Lake Victoria. Brown skin girl, you quench it us in the area. Definitely better than the rest every criteria. Kenya, all around, you better know. You brighten up the day every little bit you smile. Anytime you turn it up, the fire for ignite. Intelligent, you want it than the puzzle of the damn girl. Your wise make you tell you say you're royal long time, yeah. And cause you're beautiful. Yeah, you're beautiful. The men that gon' fall in love with you and all of your glory. Your skin is not only tough, it shines and it tells your story. Keep dancing, they can't control you. They watching, they all adore you. If ever you are in doubt, remember what mama told you. Brown skin girl, brown skin girl, your skin just like pearl. Trade you for anybody else. Brown skin girl, your skin just like pearl. The best thing in the world. Brown skin, I never trade you for anybody else. Oh, African queen, you're beautiful.
Brown skin girl, I'll never trade you for nobody else. Little brown girl, why do you hate your skin? Your hair, your smile, your zest, your strength, aura, presence, physique. Why do you hate your voice, your tone, your bravery? Ignore the world. They condemned what they don't understand. They criticize what cannot be learned. They hate what cannot be copied. Dear black girl, you are. You are everything and more. Everything they said you couldn't do, couldn't be. You are wise. You are kind. You are beautiful, talented, gifted, unique. You are powerful, graceful. You are feminine. You are the freaking print, not just blue, but pink, yellow, black, white, purple, every color of the rainbow. You carry greatness in your strides, nations in your womb, kings in your passion. Little brown girl, you represent an entire generation. You were created to break the chains of oppression, depression, your chain of self-doubt, self-hate, for you were created to win. Your crown of curls is every proof that you are a queen. So walk in the ways of Queen Candace, Queen Makeda, Nefertiti, Ya Asantewa, Oprah Winfrey, Zuzubini, Queen Nzinga, Maya Angelou. But above all, walk in your greatness, for that's what you were created to be. Moving on with the program, we have a feature. Slaves built this country. Hope you enjoy it.
Middle school. Take a listen.
This country was built on slavery, which means slaves built this country. Tilled this land from sea to sea to sea. First there was rice, tobacco, sugar cane. Then Whitney did his thing and cotton became king. And we were its soldiers, 4 million strong, fighting for America's freedoms, even though we remained America's slaves. Built this country. The descendants of slaves continue to build it. Slaves built this country. And we, the descendants of slaves in America, have earned reparations for their suffering. And continue to earn reparations every moment we spend submerged in the systemic prejudice, racism, and white supremacy that America was founded with and still has not atoned for. more. Slaves built this country.
Not only field hands, but carpenters, masons,
Blacksmiths, musicians, inventors built cities from Jamestown to New Orleans to Banneker, Washington.
40 acres and a mule.
We'll take the 40 acres, keep the mule. We made your families rich. From the southern plantation heirs
To the northern bankers.
to the New England ship
the
owners, the founding fathers,
former presidents. Current senators.
The Illuminati, the New World Order.
slaves built this country. We had Tubman,
Turner.
Frederick D.
Didn't they say Lincoln freed the slaves?
But slaves were men.
and women, and only we can free ourselves. Emancipation is not freedom.
Jim Crow, segregation, redlining, public schools feeding private prisons where we become slaves again.
As we celebrate Juneteenth for the umpteenth time, our account is still outstanding.
Cause this country was built on slavery, which means
Slaves built this country, and we demand our 40 acres and a mule.
Bump that. You can keep the mule.
Keep the 40.
We're taking our freedom.
Cute, but very impactful and very powerful. Slaves built this country. And of course, that was an American approach or an American perspective. We also in Guyana and the Caribbean have slaves that really fought for our freedom. So the first half of the program, we spoke and we showed elements of reparations. The second half of the program, we will be dealing with the beauty of Guyana. On the previous episode, we featured Nigeria, but this evening, we will be featuring our very own Guyana, our country, our home. And we are celebrating the 57th independence, and this second half is dedicated to our country. So the first video is on Golden Children, a group of local Guyanese artists. Hope you enjoy.
Yeah, we all brothers even though we look different. We was all born in a gold mine. And when it's all said and done, it's really just all about the 5'9", 2, blind to the color. And I can't tell race. One people, one nation, one destiny, no matter what it takes.
So from the city to the hinterlands, this news will be heard. Love is the message we send. And we're one forever standing strong, singing the song. I sense a new day. Let's open our eyes. In love with this feeling, hope it never dies. One people, one nation, just love on the side. For the rest of our days, Guyana, make up our minds and say that this is a moment in dark time for all golden children. Our moment to shine. Our moment to shine. Our moment to shine.
I see a light in the distance, and I know it's the rising sun shining over the mountains and rivers of this golden land. Pledge my love to the golden arrow, GT to the bone and marrow. 6 races, 10 regions, but we still live in this world.
It's a new day for us all.
I sense a new day. Let's open our eyes. In love with this feeling, hope it never dies. One people, one nation, just love on the side. For the rest of our days, Guyana, make up our minds and
divided for so long. This is now our moment and our time in this great land. To stand as one.
I see the light in the distance, and I know it's the rising sun shining over the mountains, the rivers of this golden land. This is our moment to shine. Such a powerful and inspiring song. So the next feature we have is Guyana's independence, a country, my country, the brief history.
Throughout the early part of 1966, preparation for Guyana's independence celebration went in full swing. A special committee appointed by the government designed the new coat of arms and selected the kanji pheasant as the national bird. The design and color of the new flag, appropriately called the golden arrowhead, had already been chosen during the period of the PPP government from entries submitted through an international competition. The winning 5-color design was submitted by an American, Whitney Smith. The name chosen for the independent nation Guyana was also chosen since 1962 by a select committee appointed by the House of Assemblies. The flag of Guyana was designed with a golden arrowhead along its middle to signify Guyana's journey into the future. The golden arrowhead, with narrow white and black strips along its side, was set on a green and red background, with narrow white and black strips along the sides of the arrowhead. The 5 colors were also seen as symbolic to the country's various assets. Green for the agriculture and forests, gold representing the country's mineral wealth, red for the zeal of the nation building, black borders depicting the people's endurance, the white symbolizing the natural water potential of the country. The nationwide competition, sponsored by the National History and Arts Council, also helped to select the words for the new national anthem. The winning entry, Green Land of Guyana, was written by Reverend Archibald Luker, and the words were set to music by Cyril G. Potter, a prominent Guyanese educator and musician. Guyana became an independent nation on Thursday the 26th of May 1966, but the independence celebration began 4 days before and continued until the 29th of May. Public buildings and business places were brightly decorated with streams and buntings bearing the colors of the national flag. On the evening of the 25th of May, a general cultural performance took place at Queen Elizabeth Park, later to be renamed the National Park. Dignitaries in the audience of thousands included the Duke and Duchess of Kent, representing Queen Elizabeth, and representation of foreign governments. When at midnight the Union Jack, which symbolized the British colonial rule for 163 years, was lowered and the new flag of Guyana, the golden arrowhead, was raised to the top of the mast. Just before the flag-raising ceremony, before a huge crowd, Prime Minister Forbes Burnham and opposition leader Chetty Jegan publicly embraced each other, indicating their satisfaction that Guyana had finally won its political independence. With the raising of the new flag, fireworks burst across the sky in various parts of the country. Then around mid-morning, the state opening of the Parliament of Guyana took place. It was preceded by a military parade, accompanied by much pomp and pageantry. Significantly for this occasion, the portrait of Sir Walter Raleigh decorated the wall of Parliament Chamber, was removed and replaced with the portrait of Prime Minister Burnham. The meeting of Parliament was chaired by the Speaker Aubrey Allen. The Duke of Kent read a throne speech on behalf of the sovereign Queen Elizabeth. He handed over to the Prime Minister Burnham the constitutional instruments designating Guyana as an independent nation. Immediately after which, there were speeches by Prime Minister Forbes Burnham and leader of the opposition, Chetty Jegan. Burnham, in an appeal to Guyanese nationalism, declared, and I quote, "The days ahead are going to be difficult. Tomorrow, no doubt, we as Guyanese will indulge in the usual political conflicts and differences in ideologies. But today, to my mind, is above such petty matters. For today, Guyana is free."
Land of Guyana, of rivers and plains.
If I think about the ways you make me smile, I'd be sitting here and smiling for a while. Although I know I make you cry sometimes, your happiness is ever on my mind. I cannot repay for everything you've done, but my love for you burns brighter than the sun. No matter where my feet and mind may go, my heart will lead to you and you alone. I'll be holding on to you forevermore. Guyana, Guyana, may the blessings of God never leave your shore. A paradise so wondrous to behold, a work of art, your heart is gleaming gold. They sail the waters, soar above the trees, to find the gem between the mountains and seas. Your children know we try though we may fall. We stand united now to heed your call. Our fathers fought the fights for liberty. Forever I'll defend Guyana free. Guyana, Guyana, I'll be holding on to you forevermore. Guyana, Guyana, may the blessings of God never leave your shore. Guyana, Guyana, I'll be holding on to you forevermore. Guyana, Guyana, may the blessings of God never leave your shore. Rise up for your land. Rise up, won't everybody stand? Rise up for your land. Rise up, won't everybody take a stand? Rise up for your land. Rise up, won't everybody stand? Rise up for your land. Oh,
And that was our very own Jackie Jacks. Guyana, may the blessings of God never leave your shore. And speaking of blessings, you know we are one of the newest oil-producing nations in the world with high-quality sand-bearing drums or barrels, right? So the next feature is very, very fitting because it speaks of Guyana's untapped potential and how this small nation could rise to greatness.
Just off the coast of South America, one of the largest crude oil reserves is bubbling beneath the Atlantic seafloor. It's a veritable treasure trove of potential wealth and economic greatness. But who is the owner of such a massive oil field? Well, it's a country you most likely haven't ever heard of before. Guyana, one of the smallest nations in South America, home to not even 1 million people. This discovery has shaken the country's foundations and led to an incredible 49% GDP growth during the COVID-19 pandemic, while the vast majority of world economies were struggling. In this video, we'll be discussing how Guyana's economy is set to change, the radical growth already experienced, the factors Guyana will have to consider to see sustainable development, and how the country's very identity on the world stage could be completely remolded. This is I Explained, and let's get started. The year is 2015. Despite a few diplomatic incidents and protests by Venezuela, Guyana gives the petroleum giant ExxonMobil the go-ahead to survey the coast sea floor for any proof of oil reserves. The results are extraordinary. ExxonMobil officially confirms that traces of significant crude oil reserves have been found. The announcement sparks excitement across Guyana. Such a discovery would be incredible for even the most prosperous nations. But for Guyana, it's a godsend. In 2016, while the Guyanese government was overjoyed at the discovery, the rest of the world looked on with caution. The global petroleum market is volatile at the best of times, and a new player entering the scene could radically change the status quo. Although the newly established South American nation was not at the forefront of most countries' attention, the discovery of significant oil reserves propelled it to the 17th position in the world in terms of the largest proven oil reserves. With just 4 billion barrels less than Brazil, Guyana is now the third largest oil producer in South America. That said, the most shocking part of this discovery is the country's size. Despite having a population of just over 800,000, Guyana has proven oil reserves of 11 billion barrels. Compare this to the United States' 36 billion barrels with a population of over 300 million, and the magnitude of the discovery is made plain to see. However, none of this is to say that Guyana's future is all positive. Not every country with access to ample supplies of crude oil immediately becomes prosperous. There can be significant challenges in managing the rapid economic development that follows such a discovery. Take Iran, for example. While the nation is ranked fourth in terms of globally proven oil reserves, it is currently being racked by devastating protests and significant economic and political woes. Guyana must ensure it doesn't follow the same path as Qatar, where despite major economic boons, the country's low global inequality ranking indicates most of the wealth is vested into the hands of a few individuals. Beyond wealth inequality is the problem of economic diversity. Countries such as Saudi Arabia or Qatar have wealth, but their economies rely entirely on oil exports. Should any technological innovations, societal shifts or natural disasters threaten their oil supplies, these countries would be crippled. Guyana's rapid economic growth threatens to make them over-reliant on oil production, meaning it will have to seriously consider keeping its economy diverse by maintaining its export of gold, rice, and bauxite. Luckily, the government has recognized this threat. Guyana has begun offering economic incentives for investments into their agricultural, health, and business support service sectors to keep them afloat during this oil boom. How effective these measures are remains to be seen. On top of this, there are still significant challenges awaiting Guyana if it hopes to become a major player in the global petroleum market. While its oil reserves are enormous, they mean little if the country doesn't have the proper infrastructure to grow its economy correctly. Rethinking the country's monetary policy could also be a significant challenge. To accommodate the booming oil market, Guyana must develop proper infrastructure and supervisory frameworks to ensure long-term competitiveness and stability. Additionally, a spotlight could easily be shone on Guyana's human rights issues should the country rise to recognition. Additionally, same-sex relations of any kind are strictly prohibited under the constitution in Guyana, a law that could come under heavy scrutiny with more international attention. With that said, there's no denying that the recent massive economic boom, instigated by the discovery of crude oil reserves, could lift many Guyanese out of poverty and help build the country's long-term infrastructure. Time will tell whether Guyana will follow a more sustainable long-term path or opt for explosive short-term growth. But one thing is for sure, the company has an insane amount of untapped potential. The name Guyana means land of many waters, and though oil now flows through its waters, there are many more streams for the country to take advantage of. Before discovering its oil fields, Guyana's economy relied heavily on its abundant natural resources. Though the oil industry has certainly been growing at an incredible rate, the other sectors of Guyana's economy could also rise as investment improves the country's overall infrastructure. Agriculture played a considerable role in Guyana's economy pre-2015. Historically, Dutch colonists used the fertile lands of the coast to grow sugarcane. Today, the export of sugar-based products such as rum or molasses is a significant part of the economy. More notable, however, is Guyana's thriving mineral industry. The country is home to large bauxite reserves used in cement, steel, and, most importantly, petroleum production. On top of this, just as colonists raced to South America in search of gold, so too will foreign investors, as Guyana's mines are rich in gold veins. As gold is still used worldwide in many electronic devices, the demand for the metal will remain high. Guyana has to ensure that oil complements rather than hinders the development of the market for these natural resources. Just as the government must focus on keeping the economy diverse, so must it ensure that it draws attention to the other great assets Guyana offers beyond just oil. A long-term, sustainable model must be implemented for the country to succeed. A massive spotlight has been shone upon Guyana after its discovery. Their international recognition has skyrocketed, not only among South American countries, but across the whole world. There's no doubt that the tiny nation will have a much larger role to play in international politics in the years to come. With such strong influence at their fingers, what can we expect from Guyana? The nation finds itself in an advantageous position to promote its ideas on the world stage. Despite its small size, Guyana wields a not insignificant amount of political leverage. First, the headquarters of the Caribbean Community, an intergovernmental organization of 15 Caribbean member states dedicated to international cooperation and economic unity, is located in Georgetown, the capital of Guyana. Just as Belgium's global significance is boosted by all the central institutions of the European Union being located in Brussels, so too is Guyana's. Not only that, but Guyana is also set to take the chairmanship of the Caribbean Community from the 1st of January to the 30th of June 2024, placing them in a solid position to dictate the international organization's policies for the coming year. Group all of this together with the country's skyrocketing GDP, and Guyana finds itself in a powerful position internationally. Countries across the world have recognized Guyana's potential for investment. From 2020 to 2021, foreign direct investment into Guyana rose from $1.8 billion to $4.3 billion. As the infrastructure for oil extraction develops and the country becomes an internationally recognized exporter of oil and gas, this investment will continue to rise. It's worrying news for other major oil exporters, as the competition could drive down prices. But excellent news for Europe, who are importing 49% of all barrels from Guyana to diversify their energy sources away from Russia. Overall, it's safe to say that Guyana is ready to take its place on the world stage. While there are significant challenges ahead, the government recognizes the threats, and the country is in a prime position to benefit from foreign investment thanks to its advantageous political positions. While Guyana discovered its oil reserves in 2015, proper drilling didn't begin until 2019. As such, the oil industry has only had just over 3 years to develop. In those 3 years, however, the infrastructure has grown massively. Guyana is taking essential measures to ensure the integrity of its trade agreements and reduce exploitation. In February 2023, the Guyanese government stated that future players hoping to enter the booming oil industry, such as ExxonMobil, will have to pay corporate tax, reduce how much they claim in investment costs, pay higher royalties, and pay signing bonuses when new oil blocks are awarded. These changes aim to prevent any future lopsided deals with petroleum consortiums from taking place and ensure the country still sees significant revenues from the oil reserves. Guyana prides itself on its sustainable development and protection of natural landscapes. The rainforests of Guyana are immaculately well preserved and protected, so much so that Norway provided a $45 million reward for its low deforestation rate, which it invested in new solar energy infrastructure. This is not simply out of the goodness of their hearts. Guyana's natural resources are the country's greatest asset on the world stage. With the discovery of these oil reserves, the Guyanese government will have to strike a delicate balance between nurturing their booming oil industry and protecting their natural landscapes. As outlined in the National Climate Change Action Plan drafted in 2019 for the Guyanese government, the country's very low population density and poor hinterland infrastructure have allowed the country's biodiversity to remain very high, with many locations barely touched by human hands. There is hope going forward. The action plan emphasizes the importance of increasing the use of green technology in Guyana while diversifying its energy sources away from fossil fuels. Guyana recognizes that climate change has significantly impacted its country's coasts and is committed to maintaining its reputation as a green, sustainable country. They plan to keep clean and healthy environments for their population, build institutions to respond more effectively to the threats of climate change, and ensure their natural resources are preserved for future generations. Guyana plans to put the massive revenue earned by its oil industry to good use. Over the next 5 years, the government plans to invest heavily in the country's education system, health services, and to build highway connections between rural and urban centers. The hope is that by providing potential free education and building towards a sustainable long-term future, the country will avoid the pitfalls of other oil-exporting nations that still suffer from underdevelopment despite major GDP boosts. Their neighbor, Venezuela, has the world's largest proper oil reserves, yet has suffered economic catastrophes for the last few decades. Should the government stay true to its plan, the country should see massive improvements to the education system's quality and affordability, making it even potentially free. Though this future sounds promising, it's far from guaranteed. First, the country's geographical situation means simply building infrastructure in dense rainforests is challenging, a factor other countries in less extreme climates don't have to consider. Second, according to Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index, Guyana ranks low on transparency and has a long history of corruption. Will the funds allocated to education, health and transport infrastructure be appropriately given? Guyana will most likely have to reform its political structure to fight corruption and tackle the ethnic divides between Afro-Guyanese and Indo-Guyanese that could threaten the country's prosperity.
Not just oil, but we are blessed with agriculture, our marine environment, minerals. We are home to over 300 waterfalls, many islands, flora, fauna, pristine forests, and the list can go on. But we're certainly running out of time. And we have, again, our very own Guyanese artist, Jackie Jax, and her Topside Band.
I'm Jackie Jax, and this is the Topside Band.
My little brown boy.
and we know each other for a long time. Growing up in the secret, but we went fishing every weekend. Baby, I was on your line, and then out the blue, I pull a Tom Cruise. I disappear and left you no clues. But you see, boy, we meant to be. Guyana man, you're the one for me. Linden man, you're the one for me. GT man, you're the one for me. Barbies man, you're the one for me. Guyana man, yo, Guyana man, yo. Brown boy, brown boy, brown boy. I want to hold you. Come close to me, baby, and tell you how I love you. My little brown boy. My little hey, yeah. Brown boy, brown boy, brown boy. Come let me hold you. Come close to me, baby, and tell you how I love you. My little brown, me brown skin, chocolate skin, me sapodillo skin, my caramel skin, me brown skin, yes, me brown skin boy. I coulda never love another brown skin boy.
I hope you were driving and jamming to that as much as I did, and I really love that song. We featured Little Brown Girls, and of course, we couldn't leave out the Little Brown Boys. So we are winding down on our program this evening, and we thank you so much for joining us. And before we go, I just like to leave this little quote with you. I am strong and resilient, and I have the power to overcome any adversity. I trust in my abilities and my inner wisdom, and I am confident in my decisions. I am a master of my fate and the captain of my soul. And this evening we are celebrating mothers, so as we end this program, we would like to dedicate this next song to all the mothers. Thank you once more for joining us. Please remember that this program was brought to you by compliments of the Ministry of Culture, Youth and Sports. God bless you. Hope to see you next time. Bye.
Yeah, yeah, you are my African queen. Ooh, Lord, ooh, Lord. Just like the sun, light up the earth, you light up my life. The only one I ever see with a smile so bright. And just yesterday, you came around my way. You changed my horse in way with your astonishing beauty. Oh, you couldn't make a brother sing. No ordinary thing, a supernatural being. And no, you are brighter than the moon, brighter than the star. I love you just the way you are. And you are my African queen, the girl of my dreams. You take me where I've never been. You make my heart go ding-a-ling-a-ling. Oh, you are my African queen, the girl of my dreams. And you remind me of a thing, and that is the African beauty. Yeah, yeah. Ooh, you are my African queen. Oh, Lord, ooh, Lord. Out of a million, you stand as one, the outstanding one. I look into your eyes, girl, what I see is paradise. Hey, you captivated my soul. Now every day I want you more. I cannot deny this feeling I'm feeling inside. Hey, no one cannot take your place, you cannot take your space. That is a fact I cannot erase. And no, you are the one that makes me smile, make me float like a boat upon the Nile. Girl, you are my African queen, the girl of my dreams. You take me where I've never been. You make my heart go ting-a-ling-a-ling. Yeah, you are my African queen, the girl of my dreams, and you remind me of a thing, and that is the African beauty. Oh, yeah, yeah. You are my African queen, and I know, oh yes I know. You are my African queen, and I know. See I know what I am feeling in my heart and in my soul. Oh, I know that it's His love, and I know that this love was surely sent from up above, 'cause you're the only one that I think of. You are my African queen, and I know that it means that you're the only one that I will serve. I'll give you my heart, my love, my body and my money, every other thing you think of. In a man who could think of anything better than you, who could think of ever hurting you. Sacrifice my all, I'll give it all to you. You are my African queen, for real. You are my African queen, the girl of my dream, the girl of my dream, where I've never been. Oh, na na, yeah. Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Oh, lolly. You are my African queen. You are my African queen, girl of my dream, my African. You remind me of a thing. Oh, that is the African. So black, so beautiful. I love you, I love you, I love you, I love you. Munyemo, I love you, I love you, I love you. Munyemo, I love you, I love you. Oh yeah, my African queen, I love you, I love you.